Open the door or we'll break it down! That's the first thing I heard at 6 a.m. on a quiet Saturday morning. I stumbled out of bed, heart pounding, because that kind of shouting doesn't belong in a peaceful neighborhood. Through the blinds, I saw 3 men in dark jackets, hands resting on their belts like they were armed. The problem? Their badges looked like they came from a discount costume store, not law enforcement. One of them barked again. We're with the HOA Enforcement Division. Step outside now. HOA Enforcement Division? I almost laughed. No HOA in the country has its own police force, but they weren't joking. Their faces were hard, eyes locked on my front door, fists clenched like they were itching for a confrontation. I could have reacted the way they wanted me to, with anger, with weapons, with chaos. Instead, I reached for something else. My training. Years in the service had drilled one thing into my head: never give the enemy the fight they want. I slipped my phone into recording mode, hit the speaker button so my wife could hear, and walked calmly to the door. I didn't swing it open dramatically. I just cracked it an inch. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" I asked, voice flat, calm, controlled. The leader shoved a paper in my face. It looked like some fake warrant, printed off the internet. "You've got unauthorized firearms on this property. We're seizing them today." I scanned it quickly. Typos, no court seal, not even a signature. My pulse slowed. This wasn't law enforcement. This was a show. "I see," I said. "Then you won't mind me verifying this warrant with the sheriff's office. Give me 1 second. Their expressions cracked. They weren't expecting me to stay calm. One guy actually took a step back. I could feel the shift, control slipping from their hands into mine. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't grab a gun. I didn't let them bait me into a mistake. Instead, I held their eyes and dialed the sheriff's number right in front of them. What happened next? Well, let's just say their little play acting was about to collapse in the most humiliating way possible. The phone rang twice before the dispatcher picked up. "Sheriff's office, what's your emergency?" I kept my tone steady. "Yes, I've got 3 individuals at my door claiming to be with an HOA Enforcement Division. They're waving what looks like a fake warrant and demanding access to my firearms. Can you confirm if any deputies were dispatched to my address?" The dispatcher's pause said it all. "Sir, we don't have anything like that. Stay inside and stay calm. Units are on the way." I glanced at the men outside. They were still trying to look intimidating, but now there was a crack in the performance. The leader's jaw tightened. He knew I'd just flipped the script. "Who are you talking to?" he snapped. "The sheriff," I replied evenly. "They say they've never heard of you." That was the moment their bluff wavered. One guy actually muttered, "Let's just go." But the leader wasn't ready to back down. He slammed his palm against my doorframe. "You think you're smart? We know you've got weapons. We'll be back with reinforcements." Reinforcements? What was this, a neighborhood militia cosplay? I didn't rise to it. I just kept recording, making sure every word was captured. "If you step onto my property again without a real court order and a real deputy, you'll be trespassing. And trust me, the law won't be on your side." For a few tense seconds, it was a standoff. 3 imposters glaring at me standing calm behind the door. Then, like a balloon deflating, their energy drained. They muttered something about "not worth it" and stalked back toward their truck. I locked the door, but my body didn't relax. Adrenaline still pulsed in my veins. I checked on my wife, who had been quietly filming from the upstairs window the entire time. 2 camera angles, perfect evidence. When the real deputies arrived 10 minutes later, they reviewed the footage, studied the fake warrant, and shook their heads. "We've seen scams," one of them said. "But this, HOA tough guys trying to act like federal agents, that's new." The deputies assured me they'd open an investigation, but I knew this wasn't over. Groups like that don't just disappear after one failed stunt. They regroup, rethink, and come back nastier. So I did what my training taught me. Prepare, document, and stay 1 step ahead. If they wanted another round, I was ready to outthink them again. And believe me, when they tried the second time, things got even uglier. It was 3 nights later when the second act began. Around midnight, I heard the crunch of tires rolling slowly over gravel. I peeked through the blinds, and sure enough, the same truck was idling at the end of my driveway. This time, they weren't knocking. They were waiting. My wife whispered, "Call the sheriff." Again, but something in my gut told me, these men weren't here to make noise. They wanted to provoke me into making the wrong move. So instead of panicking, I slipped into protocol. Lights off, doors locked, cameras rolling, and most importantly, my voice recorder clipped to my shirt. The goal wasn't confrontation, it was documentation. I stepped onto the porch, staying behind the railing where the cameras could see everything. "Evening, gentlemen," I said, calm as ever. "You're trespassing." The leader smirked. "You think the sheriff can babysit you forever? We know what you've got in there. Hand it over, and we'll make this easy. Classic intimidation. But here's the thing about military training. You learn to strip emotion out of the exchange. He wanted me angry, flustered, loud. Instead, I leaned on silence. Seconds stretched. Pressure shifted back to him. Finally, I spoke. You've already been reported once. You want another strike on your record? Because this whole thing is being live-streamed. That part wasn't even a bluff. My wife had set up the footage to back up automatically to the cloud. The moment I said it, their bravado cracked. One of the men cursed and pulled at the leader's arm. Let's go, man. This is stupid. But the leader doubled down. He pulled out another fake document. This one stamped with some bogus Community Safety Council seal. He waved it like it meant something. I took one slow step forward, voice low. You don't have authority here. And if you cross that gate, you'll be breaking the law on camera. So think carefully. Do you want to spend tonight in your truck or in a cell? The silence that followed was golden. His confidence drained like water from a cracked glass. They piled into the truck, tires squealing as they sped off into the dark. Inside, my wife hugged me tight. You didn't even raise your voice, she whispered. That's when it hit me. De-escalation had done more damage to them than any fight could have. And I wasn't finished yet. If they came back a third time, I'd be the one setting the trap. I didn't have to wait long for their third attempt. This time, I was ready. I'd coordinated with the sheriff's office, shared every clip, every fake document, and every detail of their threats. The deputies agreed. If the men returned, they'd be waiting nearby. Saturday afternoon, the rumble of that same old truck echoed down my street. I saw them pile out. Same fake jackets, same tough guy swagger. But I noticed something new. Their faces weren't just angry now. They were desperate. The leader marched up my driveway and pointed a finger at me. Last chance. Hand over those guns or we'll take them by force. I didn't flinch. I had my phone in plain view, recording again. My voice was calm, almost casual. Funny thing, you've threatened me twice already. You want to try a third time? Go ahead. But you won't be leaving here on your own terms. That's when the deputies pulled in. 4 cruisers boxed their truck in before they realized what was happening. Red and blue lights lit up the whole street. My neighbors peeked through blinds. Some even stepped onto porches. The so-called HOA cops froze like deer in headlights. Sheriff's office, a deputy barked. Hands where we can see them. For once, the leader's mouth had no smart reply. He raised his hands slowly, his cheap badge dangling in the sun. The deputies disarmed them, cuffed them, and began pulling their fake IDs. Bogus paperwork and even radios from the truck. One deputy walked over to me afterward. Good work keeping cool. If you'd blown up, they'd have spun this to make you look like the aggressor. Instead, you handed us airtight evidence. Neighbors gathered, shaking their heads. Some whispered, some chuckled. The ridiculousness of it all. Grown men playing dress-up, trying to enforce laws that didn't exist, was finally exposed for what it was. But for me, the lesson went deeper. These men wanted a fight. They wanted me angry, reckless, cornered. Instead, I gave them patience, control, and the kind of discipline they couldn't match. As the deputies drove them away, I turned to my wife. That's the difference, I said quietly. They thought power was about shouting the loudest or acting the toughest. But real strength? Real strength is staying calm when they try to break you. The HOA scam collapsed that day. And me? I didn't just keep my guns. I kept my dignity, my record clean, and my community safe from imposters who thought fear was stronger than truth. Because sometimes the best weapon isn't firepower, it's composure. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more wild HOA and Karen encounters, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Your support helps us bring you even crazier stories every week.